Is my mic working? Sound, mate. Thank you. Good, good. It's mic on. Is it working? Or are you receiving? You can hear me. Excellent. Okay. Okay. Also, Paul, Ivan, if you want anything breaking down, just write it in the chat now, and I'll do it once I've finished going through everything that's on here. Okay. No problem. So probably going to start in a couple of minutes, and then people can join as we go through. Give it a few more minutes. No problem. Can do gold. Yeah, so if anyone that's in the stream wants anything breaking down, just let me know in the chat and I'll do it once I've gone through the main pairs that I trade. Okay, guys, so with dollar, we're definitely going to see 93. It's pretty much going to fall off a cliff, I think. Same analysis as last week, but essentially on the monthly, there's just a huge fib that it's reacted to. Just do that quickly. So we've had the 61.8 retracement, and 93 looks like a pretty solid, estimate there. Got some resistance. Prices reacted there before, so I'm expecting 93 before we see major deceleration. US dollar, just a different way to gauge it. We are at a 61.8 fib, but then again, we've broken this key level, so at least expect that to go to this level here. Failing that, I'll go even further down. Nike, we can take a look at this, just to build. Essentially, if the dollar's weak, this pair usually gains. So, in fact, sorry, this pair usually is usually quite weak. So we've got this trend line that was drawn on there originally, but I'll draw it again so you can see where I've got it from. We've got some deceleration around the trend line there. Still looks quite bullish to me. We're above the 50 EMA. If we chuck on a 200 moving average just to get directional bias, well above it. 20 moving average, so we're right on it there. I think if we continue to see dollar weakness, this is going to drop quite a lot, to be honest. And if we were to enter a position here, we'd just pretty simply stops above the high there. Might seem like a big stop, that 334 pips, but this moves in like 5 pip ticks, I suppose you'd call it. And so every time it moves in 5 pip increments. So it's not actually that much. You've got to divide that by 5 to get the amount of ticks it would take for it to get to that target. So Euro USD, we're still in the range. To be honest, it looks if it's going to break it, it's going to break it now, I think, with dollar weakness. If it's going to break this range, as you can see, it has reacted last week to the top of the range, and it's absolutely tanked and just gained back up since dollar was so weak. We'll have to see what happens when it gets back to the trend line, to the resistance, sorry, and see in the zone what happens. Essentially, it could reverse anywhere within here. Just look for deceleration, anything like that, to enter in there. But at the minute, there's nothing confirming the direction for me. It's just consolidation. If we look on the weekly, in fact, it's not too bad of a pretty bullish candle actually. Monthly doesn't tell us much, to be honest. Could be at a fib level. So don't know how much weight that holds, but it's something to bear in mind. We have had reactions to this 50%, so that gives me bearing that this is actually quite a valid fib. So what we could be seeing is just some deceleration around that fib level, and dollar weakness is going to be the catalyst for this to break this range. That being said, it has respected the range for a long time, since 2015. So why it would break now, you've got to take that with a grain of salt. But doesn't look like that range would hold with the current state of dollar anyway. Just be careful for fake outs, I would say. So Aussie dollar doesn't look great to me. I don't see any high probability trades here. I've not traded this pair for a while purely because whenever I think something's happening, it always goes the opposite way. So I'm not going to touch a pair that's not doing very well for me. But we can see this triangle that we've got building. and it's clearly respecting it. This top trend line. I mean, price is that today? Yeah, so today we've got just a break above that. I would imagine when it opens, that will shoot back down, and we'll see some downward momentum. But then again, with the stated dollar, we could be seeing a break above that. Um, if it's going to do it, it might do it now with the state of it. So these pairs that are all around these horizontal resistance points, you need to keep an eye on what's happening. Hourly time frames can give a good. We won't see much here, but hourly time frames can give a good viewpoint. Just bear in mind that some people will draw their trend lines different. So it's good to have a couple on there that will sort of show you. So if you had one there and one at the top of the wicks, then that range is sort of the area you'd be looking for an indicator. So within this range, to me, it could reverse. So there's potential for the downside on that pair. But at the minute, don't see anything too high probability. If we get another touch on this trend line as well, it's going to confirm that. And I wouldn't be surprised if we just saw movement within the triangle until we got to basically until there was so much indecision that it had to pick a direction, and then we would just trade the breakout. New Zealand dollar, so very good setup, but it just didn't do as expected. We had move to the downside, and then dollar absolutely tanked, so it shot straight back up. And now we're above the trend line. So we could see break retest of this if we just chuck on a 50 moving average. So 50's below, 200's below on the daily. Monthly. So it looks like we're reacting to a 61.8 there. Some nice movement from it as well. Just sort that out. Yeah, so we'd be waiting for the break. So we've had the break even, and we'd just be waiting for the retest of this trend line. So we'd be seeing something like this. And personally, I would enter on this retest. Obviously, it's not going to be perfect. A perfect entry just stops below those lows there, and I wouldn't even have a take profit. I'd just leave it to run and just move my stop up as we go below structure. I do see this testing, but then again, it does depend on dollar weakness. Although we could see Kiwi weakness, and it could touch that trend line anyway. Not going to bother with Swissy. So USD CAD, we've had a breakout of this trend line. In fact, this is a good example. There will be a break retest on the hourly of this trend line, I'd imagine, and I can show you exactly what to look for. So if I'm looking for a position here, these candles give me exactly the information I need to enter this. And the thing with trading this sort of setup where you get your analysis, top-down analysis, you can get your high probability. Sorry. So this trend line's very, very weighted because we've had reactions to it. So when we see price coming to it, we get the nice break, and essentially just deceleration. We've got just a test of that trend line, and then once it's closed below it, clearly showed the break retest. Price has moved down, so you don't always have to look on the daily time frame. And with this, you can get a tighter stop. That's probably too much. About there would be fine. 60 odd pips, and you would just let that run. And obviously, that goes to show that sniper entries very, very beneficial in getting good risk reward ratio. So I didn't personally trade that. It wasn't on my radar, unfortunately, but I did trade this. That's just my profit thing there. I didn't expect it to go that far, to be honest. I thought we'd see some deceleration at this upper resistance here. It has just broken straight through it, but same thing with all the all the dollar pairs that are now either near or above resistance. We're wanting some indication. So we have had a bit of a retrace, probably just people closing positions on the Friday evening, to be honest. Um, but it's probably going to retest, and then we're going to look for a nice entry. A nice entry on there. The stop on here, there's not really anything to put the stop below, so just see where the 20 moving average is. See, that would probably be sufficient, to be honest. I can't imagine it wicking more than that. And again, I'd either put the stop to this trend line here. I'll just zoom out so you can see where that's from on the weekly. So yeah, it's just coming straight across there. Personally, I think that trend line is kind of irrelevant. 50 moving average sort of did its job anyway. But we can see there your target could pretty reasonably be that trend line, and then just wait for a break retest of that to enter again. The thing is, you don't want to be holding positions when it gets to areas like this, because it literally could just retrace on you and eat your profits. So it's better to close out and then look for another entry and secure your profits. But that's what I'll be expecting this week as a retest, and then once I've got the retest, I'll put my entry in. Quite a small stop, to be honest, but I don't think it'll wick that far, to be honest, and get a nice risk reward ratio there. US dollar, Japanese yen, exactly the same scenario. DXY is showing weakness, so I'm holding this, but bearing in mind these levels that we've got on here. So we've got the trend line. This is a very respected one. I've watched price react to this on a few occasions. There's also this trend line here. I don't know if this holds much weight at the minute. No, it's out of the way now completely. So yeah, we just had a reaction to this key level. Dollars tanked at the exact same time, and just keeping in mind these few things that could potentially cause it to decelerate. I am going to close at the trend line and just monitor price action. With this fib level being so close to that, it's going to be very tricky to know what's going to happen. I wouldn't like to trade into such a big fib, to be honest. And we have had technically higher lows. Sorry, so could be in an uptrend, although we do see a very similar pattern on every single Japanese yen pair, excluding euro. Although we could draw a trend line from there, and it's a pretty similar pattern. Let me just get rid of some of this so it's a bit easier to see. Yeah, so could just treat that as an anomaly, a fake out. It wasn't a fake out, but the trend line could still be valid. We'll just keep that there for the time being. If we see price react to it, then we've obviously got our indicator that it is valid. But I do anticipate it going that low to that trend line euro. There is quite a bit of euro news coming up, I think. So that's just something to be mindful of. But yeah, we've got this. This would be the target, ideally, for any trade on a euro short. Whether that means anything, that trend line, I don't know. But we'll see next time it bounces back up if it respects this level again. Pound yen, again, same story, but pound is very strong at the minute, which is why this pair has not dropped much at all. I was short on this from a trend line break on a CTL break, sorry, on the 1 hour. Just show you that position. So we had the this was a break retest of the 50 EMA, and that's why I entered, and it just dropped down. Worked out perfectly there. But then obviously we had a retracement. Luckily, I secured some profits there, so that was completely fine. But we're back at this key level, so we could see it try again, or we could just see consolidation. With the dollar being weak, this pair I imagine won't move too much because yen's going to be gaining and pound's quite strong. So I imagine some consolidation uh, will occur, at least short term, before we get a directional bias fully developing. We might see a couple of tests of this with some big wicks that's moving now. If we get some good, if we get price action like that, that would probably indicate quite a reversal. So we had these two here beforehand, and they were giving me some signals to short. I was just looking for a better entry there. So pound euro. Euro's pretty weak, which is why we've seen this break, and with pound gaining as well, that's where this momentum's come from. So what I've been waiting for on this is for it to get to this EMA, and what I'll do is just trade the break retest to this daily EMA. I didn't get one on the 4 hour, so I couldn't do it there. Could have got the 1 hour. But yeah, that's the situation for this. So I'd be waiting for a retest of this, and I would just not have a take profit or have it down here and just trail my stop behind structure and just let the position run. Not too much to be said there. It's just ranging, and it's pretty easy to trade that. And we had a reaction off a 61.8 fib, so that tells us another story for directional bias on that pair. Gold, I was long in this, but I closed out too early, to be honest. It's just absolutely rallying now. This trend line will definitely get reached, I think. Logically, that would be the next stop for this pair. Well, it's not a pair, it's for gold. Couple of different trend lines you could have drawn on there. This one on the monthly is quite good. I've had short positions there before. You can see it's reacting even on the monthly. Weekly, same story. Got nice reactions. And the daily's even clearer. So very, very weighted trend line. Be very cautious trading it because we've had breaks above it and retests of it, and it's come back down. So I think we'll probably see either one of these trend lines being the one that price respects, and then we get some deceleration before we I think that's better, that trend line. Yeah, so I think what will happen is we'll get some deceleration here, and then we'll either get a break retest of the upside and we'll enter there, or we'll break retest here. So we're not trying to predict what happens here, we're trying to react to it. It's much easier to react to a position like this than it is to predict which way it's going to go. And we can enter regardless of the direction. So bias is sort of irrelevant there. We just wait for the break and build confluences around that as well. Personally, I think upside is preferred, but that will depend on the stated dollar. We'll probably see weakness in the dollar till it reaches this trend line and then a rally. Oil, long in this. Just think that trend line is a very, very good target. We've had a couple of tests of it. We've had a break retest and it shot down. This trend line here, don't know how valid it is. We'll see next time price comes back to it. We've only had 2 touches, so the third one would confirm that for me. But yeah, we'll be waiting for price action around this top one, this top trend line, and then just to aid in that, there's probably a fib level. So yeah, we could see a reaction within that zone there. Nice wick on that would indicate a short. Just a quick look at FTSE. Not traded this for a while. I shorted it from here, and my stop got taken out by this day, so I just left it to run to see what happens. But we can see this trend line, price is decelerating around it, and it's moving back up now. There's also a fib level there, I imagine. Just quickly, anybody that's just joined recently, if you want anything breaking down, just put it in the chat and I'll go over that for you. I am just going to cover gold again, but going to the monthly because I know Ivan wanted that doing. And I'll just do that for you in a second. But FTSE, it's reacted to the 61.8. We'd have to see what happens at this this location here. We could see a double top and a move down again. But that remains to be seen, so we'll have to wait and see for that. Just be patient. These two are exactly the same as pretty much every Japanese yen pair. They're all at they've either reacted or they're all at the key levels. So shorts to be had here. Stops, personally, would put them above these highs. I know that's quite a big stop. But these yen pairs move very, very quick, and I would again just leave my top take profit off, let my position run, see what happens. Aussie dollar, Aussie yen even. So we've got a key level exactly the same. Don't trade Aussie yen to be honest, but looks like it's in a triangle as well. So potential there for a short or a long, depending on where price goes. So again, we'd react to the outcome of this. So could see movement down here, bang, 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 consolidating, and then either price would break to the upside and shoot up, or it would break to the downside. All this stuff with the ranges here, I don't tend to pay much attention to this being the distance that it travels. Personally, I don't think that means much. I'd just not put a take profit on it and just let it run. Personally, I think this is probably a better target for this pair anyway. The 70, it's nearly 75. If it was to go short anyway. But again, that remains to be seen. And we'll see how weighted those two trend line, this resistance is. It does look quite good to me. And if we get a nice wick on this position here, if on this day, potential for a nice short. If we got deceleration or a wick there, that'd give us a good a good way to build a bias as to where it's going to go. But would only target this trend line or a Fibonacci level. Gold quickly, I'm just going to go over it a bit more. So on the monthly, I did see something. Yeah, it's just this fib level here. So we've had a 61.8 reaction there a few months ago, and that trend line's just holding. So we'd have to wait and see. I do think a breakout in either direction is just the best way to trade this. See what happens when we get to here. But that's about it. Not too much to say really, other than that dollar is really, really weak. So, which was anticipated from last week's stream. We did say that we were going to have some weakness in the dollar, and it did come after a fair bit of consolidation. So keep an eye on Nike. I think this is already gonna start moving down. So um, shorts could be entered with your stops here. This opens at midnight tonight, so um, might not be at midnight in the UK anyway. Euro, we'd be waiting for a break or a big wick on this candle. If we get a big wick, that would tell me um, exactly what I needed to know, to be honest. I won't be needing much more of a confirmation than a wick from that, but just to be wary of this big monthly Fibonacci, um, you would be shorting into that. Same can be said for these positions, that they have gone short regardless. Aussie dollar key level. So personally, I'm not going to trade that, even if it does get a big wick, unless we see a rally in the dollar. But that's all there is to say, really. Pay attention to any pair that's crossed with the dollar, or the yen, and pound is very strong. So hopefully we see this retest, so we can enter back into this position. If not, we'll see what happens at this trend line, and we'll enter back in there because that isn't too far away, I don't think. Pips. It's opened a bit higher today. So it's only 50 pips away, so we could wait and see what happens at that trend line. I think there's initial jobless claims at some point in next week. I think it's Wednesday. So that's something to be aware of, because that often causes quite a bit of choppiness in the market. So that's something to bear with. Bear in mind that could be better. So hopefully we get that retest, but I don't mind waiting for a position like that. But that's it. Very short this week. It's pretty much one-sided, the market, I feel like. Obviously, there is arguments for both sides, but I think the prevailing opinion is that dollar is going to get to this 93 level. It just doesn't look great. Looking at that chart, we've had higher lows, lower highs, sorry, and lower lows for a good few weeks now. So we could be seeing something like that happening. Just a channel. But that's it. Pay attention to UJ as well at this trend line. If we see a nice break retest, I'm probably going to short that. Gold, we'll wait and see what happens when it gets here. A nice wick would confirm that for me. I think it might be. It's probably the 38 there. So that could add weight. But that's it. I hope everyone has a good week, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully we see 93. And that's it, guys. So thank you for coming, and we'll get the same next week at 8 o'clock. I'll be putting a new link in the bio, and I'll put a photo on Instagram just so that everyone knows that I'm doing it, I suppose. But that's about it, guys. Thank you very much for joining me, and have a good week. See you later.